Hi everybody, thank you for joining me and welcome to my Christmas Eve video. I hope you're all ready for the big day, and I thought I'd take the opportunity in this video to have a little bit of a look back over 2019, and instead of doing 12 days of Christmas, I'm going to do my 12 favourite images of the year. They're not necessarily in any particular order, and what I'll do is show you the image, talk a little bit about why I like it, and then move on to the next one. So let's get started with number 12. Okay, so this is number 12 or number 1, depending on how you want to look at it. And it's a bit of an unusual one to make it to my favourites list because I don't really like images that are silhouettes like this one. I mean, the trees in this are pretty much black. There's a little bit of detail in there. But I just think the layout of the trees, the tonal range in the sky, the soft clouds in the sky, and the little boat just in the right place out there on the horizon just makes for an interesting image. And so, after much consideration, I've included this one in my top 12 for 2019. Okay, image number 11 or image number 2, depending on which way you want to look at it, is Pantano di Tibi. This one is perhaps not an obvious one to be such a favourite because it's unusual to have a clear blue sky image that I think is as strong as this one, at least in my work. But in this case, I think the clear blue sky works because it's not a distraction from the rest of the scene. If we had a beautiful sky in there, the image would be about the sky. But with a clear blue sky, the focus is on the trees, the lake, the reflections, the light on the hills and the mountain. I did a whole video actually on why I liked this particular image because it was for a while my favourite image of this year. Although, to be fair, that was earlier in the year. But even after several months, I still like this image and it still made it to my top 12. Number 3, or number 11, is this island sunrise image. So the island in question is Peacock Island, also known as Benidorm Island, and it has several other names as well. This is actually a composite of 2 images. There was a long exposure on the sea to flatten it out to maintain a minimalist effect. But everything above the horizon is a short exposure because otherwise the sun, as it was moving, would have elongated and distorted. I think there's a simplicity to this image. There's very little fixed elements in it. There's the island, which is small. There's the sun, which actually isn't that massive in the frame. And of course there's that little bird flying across. It's a gull. I had no idea that I'd captured it until I saw the image on the computer. And that bird has got some blur from motion, but that doesn't matter. I still think this image works. And after several months of living with it, I still love it, and it's made it into my top 12. Number 4 or number 9 is 1 Minute of Dawn at the Rocks, this one here. And this was shot locally. It's a 15-minute walk from home. It's a rock pool that I visited on numerous occasions. This particular morning I shot a 1 minute exposure here, and what appeals to me about this image is the tones in the image. I think are very appealing, but what I also really like is the way that the long exposure has blurred the clouds into a shape that mirrors the shape of the pattern of rocks in the foreground. And I think given the overall scene, those 2 elements coming together works really well, and so it's one of my 12 favourite images of 2019. And so we come to number 5 or number 8, and this image is unique in my 12 favourite images of this year. First of all, because it is in no way a landscape image, and secondly because it's the only image in here that was shot with my little Canon M50 as a stills camera, whereas all of the other images were shot with my big Nikon. This image I call The Littlest Spectator. It was shot during a parade, the parade for the Moors and Christians that takes place here in El Campello every year. And I just absolutely love this image. I think the position of the dancer and then the little dog peeking out through the curtains with the crowd dropping away into darkness behind. I just love it. I think it tells a lovely story. I think it's a sweet image, and it just had to make it into my top 12, even though it's not my usual kind of thing. Number 6 or number 7, depending on which way you're counting, is messing about in boats. Now, this image had no video to accompany it. It was not an actual normal photo shoot. I actually took this looking off the balcony one Saturday morning. I happened to look out. I saw this beautiful soft light. I saw all the people out, the boats out. I saw the paddleboarders out. And I grabbed my camera and my telephoto lens and I took the shot. And what appeals to me about this is just the sheer number of things that are going on in it. And I know we often strive for simplicity in images, but in this one I think it's the number of things going on that actually appeals to me. And it kind of makes me think of an illustration from a book, maybe a children's book, and I can kind of imagine the narrator writing, it was a beautiful sunny day and everybody was out enjoying the water, and we've got the paddleboarders and the sailboats, and I think the whole thing just comes together, and to me anyway, I find it really appealing, and that's why it's made it into this list. And so we come on to this image, which is my autumn tree image taken on my recent trip to Cuenca. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I did several attempts to get autumn tree images or autumn colour images in different places, including Font Rocha Natural Park, which is not that far from here. It's an hour or so's drive from here. And I fully intended to go back and try to get some autumn colour images there again. But unfortunately, various things got in the way and I didn't manage to do that. But I did manage to find some lovely autumn colours on the trip that we did to Cuenca. And I love this image. This was shot in a piece of woodland or a forest area near to where we were hoping to find some waterfalls. The waterfalls were a complete disappointment in this particular location, but I spotted this tree and I just knew there was an image to be had here, and this was the result. And I love it. I love the way that the shape of the foliage in the small tree, the autumn foliage, makes this triangle which almost seems to float in the air, with the uprights of the pine trees behind, just creating that sort of darker backdrop. I like it, and that's why it's in this list. Number 8 or number 5 is this one, which is Windmills and Castle at Sunrise. These windmills are supposedly the windmills written about in the story of Don Quixote, which he mistook for giants and then attempted to tilt or joust with them. I shot this during a trip that we did, which combined Toledo and Concegra, which is where these windmills are. And I battled windy conditions to get 3 images from that particular, 3 or 4 images I think from that particular location. I think I did 1 in the evening and then 2 or 3 in the morning. But this one is the one that appeals to me the most. I caught it shortly after sunrise with some nice side lighting on the windmills and on the castle, and I like this image. Now, I've gone for an unusual crop on this one. It's very much a letterbox format, and I feel that works best for the subject matter, for the shape of the progression of the windmills through to the castle, and it also avoids lots of distracting blue sky up above. It's an image that appeals to me greatly, and I suppose partly that's because it's something a bit different, but I think it's got the right elements to be a good image, and that's why it's on this list. Number 9 or number 4 is this one, Dramatic Dawn at El Bañez. El Bañez is another local location. It's about a 20-minute walk from where I live. It's a little sort of rocky area that sticks out into the sea, and it quite often gets some quite nice wave action going on over the rocks. It's called Albagnettes or La Bassa della Reina, or it basically means the bathing pools of the Queen. It's an old Roman fish farm, or the remains of an old Roman fish farm, and there's these rectangular cutouts that you may be able to see a hint of in here, which are the old fish farm pools. And according to legend, they were the bathing pools of a Moorish queen. This particular morning was very cloudy, dramatic, and we got some really nice waves breaking over these rock formations, and I was able to capture that in this image with the waves crashing down. And I think it's got drama, I think it's got texture, I think it's got tone. I've got other shots from here that I love, which are in brighter conditions. I shoot this particular location quite often, but for this year, this is my favourite shot from there, and it's one of my 12 favourite images for 2019. Okay, number 10 or number 3, depending on how you're counting, is Schooner Sunrise. I was really lucky to get this shot. This schooner belonged to the Polish Navy. It was crewed by Polish naval cadets. It was moored off the beach here in the bay at El Campello for one night. I went out in the morning to get a shot of it, hoping that I would get some nice conditions, and I don't think I could have wanted anything better. We had really nice calm sea and this beautiful rainbow coloured sky which makes such a beautiful backdrop for this lovely boat. I love this image. I did a video where I took you out and showed you the shoot for it, but also how I processed it as well. And it's made it into my top 12 images for the year. Number 11 or number 2. Well, you can probably see it on the screen. You can also see it behind me here because I have it as quite a large print. It's Toledo Sunset Panorama. This is a 12 shot stitched panorama, which also had some elements of exposure merging in as well. It was quite a challenge to shoot and process. So I did a video of the shoot of this, and I also did another video a bit later where I talked around some of the complexities of actually composing and shooting and even processing this image. Partly I love this image because of the location. I think the city is beautiful, the viewpoint was great. I was really lucky with that sky and the cloud patterns. If I'd had a clear sky, it wouldn't have worked so well. If I hadn't had light, it wouldn't have worked so well at all. And I think partly there's an element of enjoying the fact that it was somewhere different. But whatever the reasons, this is definitely up there in my top images of 2019. Number 12 or number 1 is Uña Lagoon Sunset. This was again shot during my trip that I did in November to Cuenca. We'd been out for a day doing photographing waterfalls, or in fact the earlier image that I showed with the autumn tree was shot the same day as this particular one. We'd been out exploring. I got the photograph of the tree, we went and did some waterfall photography, and I thought the trip was all over, driving back, and just happened to see this scene from the car, managed to find somewhere to park, ran down onto this little wooden jetty thing that I'd managed to find, and got this image. And again, the conditions were just superb. We had still water with beautiful reflections, we had gorgeous light on the cliffs, lovely cloud patterns which were reflecting also in the water. The only thing about the scene that I wasn't sure of and which concerned me was all the reeds that are growing down on the right hand side of the frame and encroaching into the reflections, and in many ways I would have preferred to have got a higher vantage point so that I could have had a separation between those reeds and the reflections, but just wasn't possible. And in the end, I don't actually think it affects the image at all. I'm quite happy with them there. This one is certainly one of my best of the year. That's it. That concludes my look back at 2019 and my 12 favourite images. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please consider giving this video a like, hitting that thumbs up button. Maybe you'd consider giving it a share on social media. If you're not a subscriber to my channel and you like what you've seen here, then maybe consider hitting subscribe. And if you tap the little bell, you get a notification as well. Now, this video is coming out on Christmas Eve, and so I want to wish everybody that's watching this video a very Merry Christmas. Now, if this is the first video of mine that you've watched, thank you. If you've watched every video that I've put out this year, thank you. If you've been supporting my channel with your viewing and your subscribership since I started, thank you. It really means a lot to me when people take the time to watch my videos. I love making them. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. And it really means a lot to me when people let me know that they've enjoyed watching these videos. I love it when people say they've learned something from them. And occasionally people say they've been inspired by them, and that really does make all of the effort that I put in worthwhile. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas. There is hopefully going to be a video between Christmas and New Year coming out on the 28th. I'm trying to get out for one more photo shoot this year. Who knows, maybe I'll end up with an image that would make it into my top 12, or maybe not. Doesn't matter. But there should be a video hopefully out on the 28th with whatever I manage to do. And then we'll be into 2020, and who knows what the new year will bring. Thank you very much for watching. Have a fantastic Christmas, and until the next video, bye.